quirked up white boy with a little bit of swag busting down sexual style. Is he goated with the song?
See, here's the thing. I've been playing Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League a lot lately because I am part of the problem. That being said, I've actually really been enjoying it. Metropolis looks great, the gunplay is really smooth, I'm not as psychotically opposed to the core concept as a lot of people are, and I really like the way most of the characters are written. That being said, the core gameplay loop is indicative of a trend I've been noticing more and more as of late, especially with the recent boom of superhero games following the release of Spider-Man in 2018. Developers and publishers have no idea how to make a superhero team game. Okay, look, obviously before we look at the current state of colorful costumed coalition simulators, we ought to look at what is widely considered to be the gold standard for putting a superhero team into a digital format. Whenever somebody disparaged Avengers some way, I would constantly hear it followed up with some variation of the phrase, Ultimate Alliance did this better a decade ago. And I understand why. The X-Men Legends and Ultimate Alliance games are incredibly fun and iconic and an important early fixture in the superhero boom of the 2000s. But I can't confidently say that we're looking at those games fairly in relation to the modern ones. Ultimate Alliance is effectively just a Marvel Universe beat-em-up RPG, which is more or less what Avengers is. The major difference, aside from the basic quality of life stuff, derives from the type of RPG that was popular at the time. Ultimate Alliance came out in the era of stuff like Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance, while Avengers came out in the age of Destiny and The Division. So, respectfully, let's stop pretending like the old stuff wasn't also trend-chasing to a certain extent. Hell, that even extends out past stuff like Ultimate Alliance being a dungeon crawler RPG. Not every superhero game was a committed power fantasy designed to make you feel like a certain character. Stuff like the old Spider-Man games and Batman Arkham were kind of the exceptions, while stuff like the Ghost Rider God of War clone were more common amongst other middling attempts to embody certain characters, like the PS3 version of Iron Man, Superman Returns, or the severely underrated Captain America Super Soldier. But looking at what we have now, I think it's safe to say that the trend chasing is to a far greater detriment. And specifically, I want to look at 3 recent examples just to kind of pontificate on superhero team games as a whole, since they're definitely the 3 highest profile cases: Avengers, Gotham Knights, and Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. I'm not counting Guardians of the Galaxy because as much as I love that game, the style of gameplay is more oriented around making you feel like Star-Lord rather than like the Guardians. Much in the same way that Pokemon games aren't about feeling like Pokemon, they're about feeling like a trainer. I'm also not including Midnight Suns because the game just isn't going for the same kind of game feel of the power fantasy, where I think the other 3 still are. All 3 of these games kind of focus on different aspects of a superhero experience in ways I think are actually decently executed. Avengers focuses on the titular teams as the more paramilitary type of heroes, going on individual missions that work towards a larger whole. Gotham Knights puts you in the boots of a group of vigilantes going on patrol and gathering clues to lead you to larger criminal operations. Suicide Squad, ironically, puts you in the most traditional narrative of a superhero game, dropping you into an open world threatened by a singular known force and asking you to return it to its former glory. Obviously, these games all have wildly different characters to work with, both in terms of writing and gameplay, but the thing that unites them all is the core loop of beat people up, steal their shit, make yourself stronger to beat more people up, repeat. There's also the issue of characters barely feeling unique. Black Widow and Hulk can hit equally hard. The only major difference between Robin and Nightwing is what kind of stick you'll beat people with. 6 weapon types in Suicide Squad, and the only playable difference across all 4 characters is which combination of 3 weapons they're allowed access to, paired with which traversal mechanic allows them to move from one space to the next. Hell, even non-multiplayer games struggle with this. As good as it is, Spider-Man 2's gameplay still loses me in one major regard. I don't feel like I'm playing as 2 completely different Spider-Men. I feel like I'm choosing between whether I want to shoot lightning or goo. The appeal of superhero teams is seeing characters bounce off of each other, and while all the games I've looked at have this down from a writing standpoint for the most part, I don't really see it in the powers. These games don't necessarily make you feel like an individual character you're playing as, just like you're kind of ancillary characters with mildly different ways to accomplish the same goal. Honestly, that wouldn't be bad for a Power Rangers game, since every member of most Power Rangers lineups have about the same power set, but for teams as widely varied in backstory and abilities as these, it kind of falls flat. So the real question is, can a game like that work? Can there be a Justice League game that commits as hard to the fantasy of playing as Superman, Flash, Wonder Woman, and Green Lantern, just as hard as the Arkham games committed to making you feel like Batman? Is it possible to have an Avengers game where playing as Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor feels as good together as they would in their solo games? Well, I honestly don't know. I'd actually say it's really not. Making characters feel and play completely different from each other in ways that aren't superfluous or motivated by a player choice would require designing completely different gameplay mechanics for every single character, rather than just designing one set of mechanics for the game overall and making it so each character just interacts with them differently. And it's not just that, it's that we would also have to somehow convince major companies that an online multiplayer game with no live service elements that isn't designed for player retention would be financially viable. And they'll never believe that. Hell, look at it this way. We're currently in the middle of a superhero games boom right now, and I'd argue that the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are the most popular and easily recognizable superhero team out there. And instead of a AAA multiplayer game where you can play with your friends as all 4 turtles in an open world New York, we're getting a single-player adventure based on Last Ronin, where all the turtles except one are dead. I just want us to be honest with ourselves here. I really don't think that we'll ever get the Avengers, Justice League, Fantastic Four, Teen Titans, Doom Patrol, or X-Men games of our dreams, and that just sucks, man. Special thanks to my buddies Omar, Christian, and Devrick for donating to the $10 tier on my Patreon. If you want to, I don't know, some superhero team pun, I don't know, I'm kind of tired. Please consider donating to the Patreon. It actually really does help me out, especially because my day job kind of sucks right now. So I would actually really appreciate it if you guys donate to the Patreon. It's as little as $3 a month. You get exclusive benefits such as access to exclusive content and reviews of movies in theaters. I promise I'm going to get back on that really, really soon. I just need more movies that I actually want to see come out.